Support.
The maestro, please.
When we could be superstars, we've been rather wrecking cars.
Hey bro, is that Jambo?
What is at stake for us? Kicking off polymerase.
End of the month and first pop analysis of spring. To kick off the new season, we're oddly enough going to talk about a Halloween song because we're talking about Super Gremlin by Kodak Black.
Kodak Black.
We mentioned Kodak Black a little bit ago back when we were talking about
Flying private jet with the rod. It's that Z shit. It's that Z shit. Pull up in a demon on.
Besides that, he's gotten a couple more charting songs such as
And it's like every song I'm on, I be calling my spirits. I put my hero on rocks. I put
and
new space cool like a Martian. Fuck a protest, let's start a mosh pit.
Background.
Super Gremlin originally came out on October 30th of 2021, charting just under a month later at number 97. Since then, it has worked its way all the way up to number 3 as of the beginning of April. Super Gremlin extensively samples You hear the sample most predominantly in the intro, outro, and chorus.
When we could be superstars, we've been rather wrecking cars.
Hey bro, is that Jambo?
Yeah, we could be superstars. We've been rather wrecking cars.
Because of its extensive use, Mike Timmerman of How to Loot Brazil has a songwriting credit on this song as well. Super Gremlin was originally off of Sniker Game Presents Psycho Bob and Snapcat Nightmare Babies, released by Kodak Black's label, Sniper Gang, on October 30th, 2021. Oddly enough, Super Gremlin isn't actually a single off of this album, the only actual single being
I'm smoking the roach and killing the rats. Smoking the roach and I'm killing the rats when I'm back in the.
You'll notice I said originally. That's because this song is also off of Kodak Black's album Back for Everything, released February 25th of 2022. Oddly enough, it is also not a single off of this album because the only single off of this one is
She want love and I want war. You can leave, but where you going? If I hit that.
So Super Gremlin is an odd case of not being a single off of either album that it's on, despite it being the highest chart performing song off of either. Joining Kodak Black on this are ATL Jacob and Jambo. Jacob Kennedy, aka ATL Jacob, is no stranger to having songs he's worked on pop up into the Hot 100. Some of his highest charting credits include
First off, you get the ammo, then you cock it. First off, we had us blast up like a rocket.
and more recently,
Don't get in hating shit, I'm on some greater shit. My people proud, I'm real as it gets. Don't have to taste me, I don't like the wait, and I swear I'm impatient.
Raul Bermejo, aka Jambo, however, is not as decorated, has a number of credits to his name, but this is the first song he's worked on that has made it into the Hot 100. Super Gremlin is released by Atlantic and, of course, Sniper Gang.
Form.
Super Gremlin is a hip-hop song, is just over 3 minutes and 20 seconds, is in E minor and 73 beats per minute. The song opens with the intro that you heard at the very beginning of this video and continues on just for a little bit more.
Yeah, we could be superstars, but I'm pretty sure time is up.
After that, we get into the first verse.
Say you my nigga, I'ma be your killer. Nobody gonna play with you when I'm with you. Go against any nigga like fuck this glitter. Skeet all
Which then leads us to the chorus with Kodak Black and the sample in the background.
business. Damn, my nigga, you trippin'. We could've been superstars. Remember when we were jacking cars?
He then continues on to give us a post-chorus,
Track hard with the kick. Snatch off from the bitch. When I slide, nightlight on the blick. Bet I'm on my shit.
before getting into the next verse.
I done went cages, stages of cage. Now free me, baby, can't keep me, baby. I beat them cases, they already hate when they gon' want me dead when I'm on.
Which is followed by a second chorus,
Now you better keep your distance, cause it's not safe for you. You switch like a pussy little bitch.
a second post-chorus,
Sides, so they done ran down, call them pants down. Nigga, you shit it. I knew the perk was fake, but I still ate it, cause I'm a gremlin.
finally transitioning to the outro.
Yeah, we could be superstars,
Super gremlin.
but I'm pretty sure time is up.
Now your time is
So
up.
we
Before the song finally ends.
I bet you always see me in your dream.
piano.
The first instrument we hear is the most prominent throughout the song, and oddly enough, despite it being a piano, it never actually plays any sort of formal harmony. You'll notice in the beginning it has 3 voices, that top one which is actually played an octave higher than written, a middle one below that mostly focusing on quarter notes, and then the one at the bottom doing those triplet figures every now and again. As the piano part continues, that very top line for the most part stays the same with some alterations. The middle line drops out entirely, and that lower line now plays much higher and just doing 16th note and quarter note rhythms.
Strings.
Obviously not actual strings, it is just a string patch on a synth. First holding that B in the middle for 2 beats before dropping to E, and then working its way up back to B, which it then repeats 2 more times and then finally ends with a half note on A and a half note on D.
Bass.
There are 2 bass figures throughout the song, and the first one we hear is actually very close to the beginning in the form of these long, drawn-out notes. First starting on that low E, which it then repeats for almost the entirety of the second bar, before jumping up to B, and then dropping all the way down to that low C, and then finally working its way up to that D. We don't get the much more typical bass figure until later in the song, mostly playing syncopated E's and C's below the staff.
Say you my bim, yeah. I done went down my track home.
Intro.
The intro is primarily just the sample doing 16th note and 8th note rhythms and staying in between E and B on the staff. You'll notice while it does primarily focus on just a handful of notes, the ending note is the important one. First ending in each figure on B, then G, then A, and then G. Also, we have Jambo's tag in the first phrase.
When we could be superstars, we've been rather wrecking cars.
Hey bro, is that Jambo?
What is at stake for us? Kicking up corners.
As the sample in the intro continues, you'll notice that the range is now expanded, going up all the way to that D, and doing many more large leaps, and in fact even going to the D an octave below the high D it hits early on. Additionally, you will see ATL Jacob's tag at the end of the phrase.
Yeah, we could be superstars, but I'm pretty sure time is up. And so we fell off the spinning tops. ATL Jacob.
Verse.
Kodak Black's flow can sometimes be hard to actually figure out. You'll notice in the opening of the verse we're doing triplet figures before transitioning to primarily 16th and 32nd note figures.
Say you my nigga, I'ma be your killer. Nobody gonna play with you when I'm with you. Go against any nigga like fuck this glitter. Skeet all dirt on bitches. I put it in for you, I spin for you. Whatever you with, I'm with it. How you gon' cross a nigga out rockin' with you? I got you lit in the city.
Kodak Black does primarily stick to the 16th and 32nd note rhythms, although you may occasionally hear a triplet thrown in, although one could argue that that is Kodak Black simply playing with the space in between each beat.
I've been multitasking, rapping and being a daddy to my little children. I've been spinning on business and spinning and spinning and spinning until I'm dizzy. I do all the smack, you ain't never step of help with none of you killing. You doing a lot of capping, watch when I catch, I'ma whack you in front of the witness.
As we get into his second verse, he does begin to space things out a bit more. We are now getting more 8th notes than we did before, and not just 32nds and 16ths.
Yeah, cut those bins, KTV, back door wide open. Wait till my sniper get out. All of you niggas gon' die. Time rolling, bustin' on my opponent, no how I'm stepping. Crush my arms totally, wood jet broke, no motion. Sleeping on sofas, creeping in highs like roaches.
Given in the following phrase, he then doesn't do any more 8th notes, and we're back to the 16th and 32nd note rhythms. However, you'll notice that it actually is extended at the very last bar. It is not unusual for a rapper's phrase to actually end on the first beat of the next bar, but in this case, Kodak Black goes halfway through the following bar after after the phrase.
I done went cage to stage to cage. Now free me, baby, can't keep me, baby. I beat them cases, they already hate me. They gon' want me dead when I'm on probation. Oh, y'all think Lil Yak retarded? Y'all ain't seen nothing yet, I promise. Niggas can't take me, niggas can't guard me. I be on the fuck nigga ass like Charmin, aka 28 Carvin.
Chorus.
So while he does start off the very beginning rapping, he quickly transitions into singing, and he's singing the melody that the sample is singing, given he is not actually saying the words that the sample said. So because of that, there are some slightly altered rhythms to account for the fact that he's not exactly saying the same thing.
Damn, my nigga, you trippin'. We could've been superstars. Remember when we were jacking cars? Now it's not safe for you. You switch like a pussy little bit.
As the chorus goes on, he actually changes it up a little bit, now going back and forth between rapping and singing. For those first 3 bars, he starts off rapping, and for the back half of each bar, he is singing the notes of the sample, again with his words, not the samples, except for the last bar where he transitions into what he did in the previous phrase.
Damn, my nigga, you trippin'. We could've been superstars. Can't help it, now I'm reminiscing. Remember when we were jacking cars? Now you better keep your distance, cause it's not safe for you. You switch like a pussy little bitch.
Post-chorus.
In the one phrase post-chorus, obviously after each chorus, it does resemble very much his flow in the verses, given the rhythms are a bit more spaced out as they have more eighth notes than his verses did rhythmically speaking.
Track hard with the kick, snatch off from the bitch. When I slide, nightlight on the blick. Bet I'm on my shit when I'm outside. So them ran down, caught them pants down. Nigga, you shitted. I knew the perk was fake, but I still ate it cause I'm a gremlin.
Outro.
The outro opens up with the back half of what the sample was singing in the very beginning, with the occasional interlude from Kodak Black. Note he is talking, so these rhythms aren't exact, but they're close approximations.
Yeah, we could be superstars,
Super gremlin.
but I'm pretty sure time is up.
Now your time is
So
up.
we fell off the spinning tops. Don't know, maybe for trial, but way more error.
As the outro continues, they actually start chopping the sample up, and thus now we have no discernible words that we're actually hearing. But the additions from Kodak Black increase as he now does it throughout this entire phrase.
I ain't sliming, I'm grinding. Any way you put it, I'm SG with it. I'm a super gremlin. Snatch and grab, sneak and geek. Like we gon' trust.
Right before the song ends, we do get this last little addition from Kodak Black.
Nightmare, baby. You know, I bet you always see me in your dream.
This is an interesting one to be talking about, and oddly enough, not even because of anything musical. It's all around the release of it. This is, as I said, not a single on either album that it was included on, but despite that, still got extremely high in the Hot 100. It goes to show you that even if songs do not get released as a single, they can still chart very high. The big question here is, though, would this have gotten as much exposure if it was not released on both? Did it actually have the power to get that high on the chart, being off of just the Sniper Gang album and not Kodak Black's studio album? I don't want to be here doubting the song in terms of its popular airplay, and in fact, if I doubt it too much, Kodak Black might come in.
Catch, I'm whack in front of witness. Damn, I knew you were tripping. We could have been superstars. Remember when we were jacking cars? Now it's not safe for you. You switch like a pussy little bit.
I actually didn't know what cover art to use for this. Super Gremlin, since it's not a single, doesn't have any single art. So it was back and forth between which album art did I want to use. I decided with just doing the original one, the Sniper Gang release, because that's what it was originally introduced on. And if you go to genius.com, that's actually the one they show. Given for a second, I thought I'd do something like this and just split it down the middle.
Damn, I knew you tripping. We could have been superstars. Can't help it, now I'm reminiscing. Remember when we were jacking cars? Now you better keep your distance, cause it's not safe for you. You switch like a pussy little bitch. Track hard with the kick, snatch off from the bitch. When I slide, nightlight on the blick. Bet I'm on my shit.